Hey, what is up? This is the Leafs Convo for Oak Ridge Ford in London, Ontario, oakridgeford.com. I'm Norm, along with Mike. It is Wednesday, May 12th, 2021, and this is essentially our official first 2021 NHL playoff-style combo, getting ready for the Habs and Leafs for the first time since, 79, Mike?
Yeah.
Pretty incredible. We're going to have a lot of time between now and puck drop on the Leafs Habs series to talk about how things may go. We can dive into the lines. But first things first, there is a Leafs game going on right now. The Senators, they're going nowhere. But Freddie Andersen is going to be going somewhere with those Maple brothers, parking himself on the bench, or at least the beginning of the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And, he's a part of the lineup again. Through one period of play. What did you think of his play? I mean, not too much involvement, but
he didn't have much action, and the goal that was scored, I can't really blame him because he was screened. It picked top corner, sort of a fluttering type of shot. There's not a lot to go on right now. I mean, we saw that what he did with the Marlies, played half a game last Thursday and then a full game on Saturday. Allowed 6 goals. The reports I heard said he looked okay, but nothing great. We know what this is. They need to find out whether Andersen can stay healthy through a game. They need to find out whether he, if his injury is completely healed or if it's something that's chronic that's going to continue to go on. But I keep going back to it. This team is going with Jack Campbell. If I would be absolutely stunned if after one game, after being idle for 2 months, that Freddie Andersen would start the playoffs. But, stranger things have happened. But I think this team is Jack Campbell's team for the playoffs. But as I said to you before we started recording, I think he's got a short leash. If Campbell has a couple bad games or one bad game, they might go back to Freddie Andersen. So we'll see.
The combo for Oak Ridge Ford, NJ, and MIB. We're doing it during the game. Leafs Sens happening right now. The penultimate game of this wacky regular season. The Jets and the Leafs will wrap up the 56, and then it's on to the Leafs Habs. So there are multiple scenarios potentially at play here. If the Leafs get knocked out quick and Sheldon Keefe does not go to Freddie Andersen, this could be tonight his game involvement with the, against the Ottawa Senators. Could be his last as a Maple Leaf. That's just one scenario.
Yeah,
and
it's very possible.
It's possible. And maybe Campbell plays every single game. Right, you never know.
Mm-hmm.
Also, he may be called upon to save a series, and tonight's action happening right now while we do this podcast is the setup for him. This is the last game action he'll get, first in a long time, and last game action he'll get until he's dropped into the middle of a series in which the Maple Leafs need a lifeline. It's incredible how it may turn out. We'll just have to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a perfect scenario. I mean, ideally, you would want your goaltender. I mean, first of all, you want your number one goaltender to be available.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I question who the number one goaltender is now. I mean, it was Freddie Andersen starting the season, but over the last 2 months, it's been Jack Campbell, and he's 17-2-2. So he's the number one. I mean, I think in all honesty, I think that's the case. Nobody will really say that. They'll just say they're going with the goalie that they've gone with the last couple months, who's won 17 of 21 starts. But I think, if you look forward to what may happen after the season, unless Freddie Andersen comes in during the playoffs and reclaims number one and carries them to a conference or semifinal or Stanley Cup final, I think Jack Campbell is your number one goaltender next year. They'll probably need a number two that can play a lot of games, but I don't think they can afford Freddie Andersen at $5 million. So the last 2 months has proved to be a sort of an interview process for Jack Campbell, and he's aced it.
It's amazing how sports can go. It's amazing how life can go. You can't imagine what Freddie Andersen has been going through since mid to late March when he last suited up for the blue and white. All of the doubt, the self-analyzing, and here he is with an opportunity to get his skates wet a little bit before watching a guy he never thought would have taken his place lead this team as far as he can until Freddie Andersen gets his next opportunity. And he may not get another with the Maple Leafs. I'm not trying to be dire. I'm not trying to consider his career as stages of fatality. But who knows what the next several weeks to few months are going to bring. David Hayna's in the chat with us, Joe Shedler. Not expecting too many people to be involved in this show live, but we're doing it now just based on Mike and I's schedule. Mike's a busy man, and certainly so am I. So another impression I got from that first period with the Senators, the vibrance of the second power play unit with Joe Thornton and company, and Alex Kerfoot's a part of that too, and a bunch of other guys. They moved the puck well, and they looked like they were dangerous and capable of scoring. But shouldn't Sheldon Keefe have his number one unit out there the entire time to try to sort this thing out? Or are they just going into the playoffs saying, F it, the power play sucks. It might find life. It may not. Who knows?
I think the more the number one power play is played lately, the worse it's gotten. That second power play is the fourth line, which is Simmons, Spezza, and Thornton, with Kerfoot, and then Jake Muzzin. And I think they've been more effective than the first line in terms of, I mean, they were talking about it on the broadcast, their inability to gain the zone. And this is the thing. I mean, this is a product of the fact that they're playing against the same teams over and over, and they've devised what the Leafs do to enter the zone. And they realize that if they can shut them down in terms of being able to enter the zone clean, then they can't set up, and that's when they're really dangerous. And that first power play just can't get set up. They force them into making quick puck decisions, and they're usually bad. And I mean, this is a big thing going into the playoffs. They need that power play to be effective. And right now, it's just not.
Well, when analyzing teams, you will have people look at how a team succeeds. Is it solely based or primarily or largely based on special team success? Or can a team score 5-on-5? What the Leafs have proven in this season is that they can score 5-on-5 almost exclusively. And that's a good thing. But we know that power plays aren't a dime a dozen when the chips are on the line and time's a ticking on your playoff life, and you need to make the most of them. We should all be concerned about how this team enters the playoffs in a special teams capacity. And I'm not just suggesting that there's potential failure there with the extra man, but even on the penalty kill, you give up a few early in a game to start that series with the Habs, and the Leafs haven't proven to us that they are of the state of mind that they can do no wrong and that they will pound through any adversity. So that'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. It's all going to be interesting to see how everything plays out, because this is uncharted territory based on the season we had and the way that the first few rounds of the playoffs are going to go. Matthew Tanti, how likely is it that Riley Nash plays in the playoffs? Who comes out if he plays?
Well, Tuesday's practice, everybody was drawing conclusions, and Sheldon Keefe made sure to tell the media, don't draw any conclusions. But they had Riley Nash playing on the third line with Mikheyev and Kerfoot. I find it hard to believe that they will play Riley Nash in game one of the playoffs, having not played one game in the regular season. But I know that they like him. That's the reason they traded for him. And they're going to get him in there. But I would be surprised if an Engvall is not playing in game one the way he's played lately. But, you know, I mean, they may give it a look. I mean, to me, Nash is the guy you bring in after a loss. You bring in after game one if you think certain players are not playing. But they want him up the middle as that checking center, as that tough guy who matches up against, you know, anybody in the lineup, whether it be first line or fourth line. They ran into him when it came to him playing for Boston a few years ago, and then with Columbus, so they know how he is in a playoff situation. But it depends on whether they feel comfortable with Kerfoot as the third line center, or they'd rather have him on the wing. So, I mean, we'll see what they decide to do, but it's up in the air. It's up in the air.
Mm-hmm. And Mitch Marner telling the media that he doesn't want to talk too much about this series until the series is essentially approaching, and we can dissect this group and its abilities and inabilities any which way we want, all the way up to puck drop. But between now and when things get going with the Habs, I still feel like a lot can change. I'm not inside Sheldon Keefe's head, and you would probably know better than I, being a little bit more attached to and a part of, deeper hockey circles closer to the team. I don't think Sheldon Keefe knows right now how this lineup is going to be comprised and who he's going to go to, other than Jack Campbell being between the net and Marner and Matthews being a part of that first line when they get going against the Habs.
It's nice to have options, and the Leafs have options. The funny thing was today, you know, they were asking him about Montreal since it's etched in stone now. And, you know, Keefe was basically saying, well, we've got eight days to talk about, you know, this series or whatever it is until game one. So, you know, let's not talk about, we've got 2 games to play against Ottawa and Winnipeg. Let's get those out of the way. Let's take care of those before we concentrate on the Habs. And the Leafs just scored. I think it was Jake Muzzin. So I mean, you know, that's it. I think that's the right approach, because honestly, I mean, I was on the conference call with it was Marner and Dermott and then Sheldon Keefe, and Marner didn't want to have anything to do with talking about Montreal yet. He was saying, let's take care of the last 2 games. Yep. Dermott was a little more, well, you know, it'll be cool, 42 years, you know, Habs fans. And I said this last night on Twitter. I can't, you know, I'm sure that the discourse on Twitter between Leafs Nation and the Habs fans will be sweet and kind. It'll be so loving and respectful.
So what are Habs fans, and I will comment on it, and that's it. What are Habs fans going to say? Like, what, other than 1993, Leafs haven't won since 67. Guy Lafleur, Guy Lapointe, Steve Shutt. What are Habs fans going to say to support the case that we can beat the dastardly team from English Canada?
I've already seen it. It's like, well, you haven't won a playoff series since 2004. We've won so many. I mean, whatever. I mean,
you can't will your team to win when you're inferior to the competition.
The last time you beat us was 67. It's
coming. We've got, it's going to be another week and a half, and then and so OG's Converts, thank you very much for being a part of this. I've got a few Leafs Convo hoodies left. I'm getting some inquiries about it. We're going to do another batch of them, so you can put your name on one, just like you can put your name on an F-150 that is yet to be built. OakRidgeFord.com, or you can get at me. Hey, I'm doing my part here.
Well, Norm, the problem is that F-150 needs gas, and with the pipeline being shut down, I don't know if anybody's getting any.
Yeah, as if this world hasn't dealt with enough over the past year and a half. I mean, geez, we've got plants burning down in Japan that supply chips to just about everything. I mean, people aren't getting along across the world. We've got the pandemic, trying to get this under wraps. You've got gas issues.
And now Leafs Habs, mass hysteria.
Leafs Habs, it's going to be complete hysteria, but perhaps the entire world calms and becomes one, and, you know, the planets align and the stars collide when the Leafs finally win that Stanley Cup. It starts with getting through these next 2 games as safe as possible and without any injuries, and then moving on and dispatching Les Rats as quickly as they can without too many guys falling to injury or falling ill. Comment, was it David here or Matthew Tanti, Kevin Bieksa, highlighting Brady Tkachuk finishing hits. Should the Leafs be resting their top? I was a little surprised to see guys like Marner and Matthews and Nylander and them out there. We thought that there would be more of a taxi squad taking on the Sens and then the Jets just to kind of, buy time.
The ironic thing is, I believe that with all the machinations that they had to go through to activate Freddie Andersen, I think right now their roster only has 20 players, so they have to play these guys. I mean, they sent Rasmus Sandin down to the taxi squad. They put Hyman and Bogosian on LTIR. They moved things around to open up the $5 million in cap space. So I think what they're going to do is probably play Marner and Matthews less minutes over the last 2 games, maybe like 16, 17 minutes instead of playing 23 or 24. But you still expose them to somebody like Brady Tkachuk, who, has a screw loose sometimes, and he's just a very aggressive player, and he's always going to be in 5th gear. So they better watch out, and that's why BX has suggested put out Wayne Simmons on that line with Matthews and Marner, and if Tkachuk takes a run of them, then Simmons will be there to take care of them. So, or be there as a warning sign. So, I mean, that's the way you have to think in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. That's why the Leafs got Foligno. Foligno is a tough character. He doesn't shy away. Now, he's not a fighter, mm-hmm. but if somebody takes a run at somebody, he's going to take a run at them.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a few more minutes. David Hanna, it's already getting toxic online between the Leafs and Habs. I've been going at it with Habs fans, especially on Twitter, for 15 years now. You'd think I would have learned my lesson. And I have, because I'm officially retired from Twitter. I only tweet when it relates to the Leafs Convo and how we can draw listeners and viewers here. And if you are a part of the OG and Convert crew, please tell your friends about what we're doing here. We're really content with the foundation of supporters we have, but we feel like our product is pretty good, and that we open the door to more people coming aboard. We also have John Weichel. Leafs will win the cup this year. And he also says that if the Leafs lose in the first round, Kyle Dubas will be fired. I predict Kyle Dubas will not be fired.
Yeah, no, not a chance in hell, John. I'm sorry. He won't be fired. Neither will Sheldon Keefe. What you will see, and I don't. Let's wait till things play out. But I'll just say this: if they lose in the first round, you will see a different team next year. Meaning there'll be some massive changes. Massive.
So the Leafs have tried the spreadsheet approach, the analytic approach, and every team looks at its ability to win, and how it can be better through data, and it's very important, but not solely on data. Kyle Dubas realized that the team needed another component, that next level, a different wave of players. So all of these veterans come in, a lot of jam, a lot of experience. It's worked really well. Mm-hmm. If it doesn't produce enough of a playoff run to, keep the brass and the fan base content, and to allow the team to make the ultimate progression after what it accomplishes over the next month and a bit, where does it go? What's the next play?
Well, I mean, I'd have to say that no matter what, the big three, and I say big three because there isn't a big four, the big three, meaning Marner, Matthews, Tavares, are not going anywhere. But if they, based on, the supposition that they lose in the first round to Montreal or lose in the second round to either Edmonton or Winnipeg, I think you'll potentially see some changes on defense. Mm-hmm. Maybe they will go full youth movement, bring in Sandin, bring in Liljegren, make the changes that internally that they've been preparing for a few years. Up front, I keep going back to it. I don't see William Nylander on this team if they lose. Not to say he's the scapegoat, but unless he has a big playoff, unless he proves his worth, because he's there on a second line to take the heat off of Marner and Matthews. Him and Tavares have to produce. If they don't produce, if they don't take the heat off Marner and Matthews, that's one key to a team beating the Leafs in the playoffs. And if he is a ghost, which he has been at times in the playoffs over the last few years, I mean, his regular season totals are enough, and there are teams out there that will pay through the nose for an offensive player like Nylander. That's why, for cap reasons and for shaking up the roster, if they lose early, I think Nylander is the guy who goes.
Rav, no changes because the Leafs are gonna pull through. I love that attitude, Rav. He's got a good feeling this year. So do I. I have a good feeling that the Leafs are going to make the semifinals. After that, all bets are off. On Nylander, if he has a Conn Smythe winning playoff, he is still susceptible to movement. He is still available for transaction based on where he is in the Leafs pecking order and his movability. And that's all I'm going to say about that, because if he goes or stays, I'm indifferent as long as the team improves. If you could package up Marner and Matthews and make the team exponentially better, which you can't, I'd be for that too.
Right.
But those contracts aren't as easy to shake out of your system because Kyle Dubas, with foresight and much thought and data, went all in on those guys. Well, they went all in on those guys, knowing that a couple years in, they can't just be dealt off. But guys like William Nylander are in a better position to be moved, and man, every team would want to get their hands on him. That's it on 88. Mike, just a few more points. I'll let you go.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and the thing that the Leafs and every team in the NHL didn't plan for is the flat cap. So the cap is going to be flat probably the next 2 or 3 years. If the cap had gone up, then the Leafs could afford to have that core four making $40 million. Now they can't. So. Yeah. There are going to be changes, but let's concentrate on the positive, which is the playoffs and the Habs.
Hey, and it's former Leaf night in Ottawa. Nikita Zaitsev scoring to open the offensive barrage from the Senators, and Connor Brown with his 21st on the season. Joe Thornton adding his 14th, 15th assist, 20 points. In what might be his final season in the NHL. Hopefully he caps off his illustrious career, his Hall of Fame career, with a Stanley Cup with the Maple Brothers. OG's Converts, please like this post on YouTube. Subscribe to our channel. I'd like to know what your lines are for opening night against the Habs. Let us know inside the comments. Let's string together a great conversation on this. In the meantime, we'll get back to the game. And then, of course, the Sunday Spectacular is just around the corner. The hoodies, we have a few left. If you're interested in one, just let me know. All I need you to do really is to, help me pay for the shipping, and we'll get one to you, and then we're going to order a new batch of stuff. Mike, any last words? Are you good?
I can't wait for these playoffs to start. I mean, this has been a long and brutal 50. It's funny. This is 2/3 of this regular season, but this season has seemed longer than any season that I can remember.
And this wonderful season that the Maple Leafs had, not one fan has been able to see it in person, which sucks. But I don't think any fan's going to say, wait till next year to win the cup. Can
you imagine the atmosphere at the Bell Center and Scotiabank Arena for a Leafs Habs series? It's a crime that no fans can see it, but I understand why.
Well, let's hope this is the start of many deep playoff runs to come for the Maple Brothers. They certainly have the capability. We better stop this show because the Sens are up 3-1 now. Mike, we'll talk to you on Sunday, buddy.
Thanks, Norm.